Hi everyone, I'm Steven, and today I'm using cardboard to make Moon Knight's mask and his cape. Let's jump right into it. For the first part of the mask, I started off by making a template of a cardboard mask off camera. I printed it out and cut all the pieces out. These pieces were taped using masking tape onto half of a cereal box before I cut them out again. On the template, you'll see solid and dotted lines. The solid lines are cut lines, the dotted lines are fold lines. If you're following along, just bend instead of fold sharply. You want the face to look smooth instead of super angular, and if you fold it really sharply, it's going to look like it has a bunch of angles. Anyway, when all the pieces were cut out and folded, I taped them together. I started by taping the nose to the eye section, and then I taped that piece to the forehead, starting in the corner and then working my way over. Every so often, I would flip the mask over to make sure it was still looking good, but for the most part, I worked on the back of it and just added a little piece of tape here, a little piece of tape there, and just pushed and pulled all the pieces together until the mask started looking like a mask. It's pretty cool looking, right? So as for those long strips that are hanging down on either side of the mask, I wrapped these around my chin so they fit really nice and comfortably, and then I stapled them in place and cut off all the extra bits. I also stapled on some ear flaps, and these ear flaps are just the other half of the cereal box that I folded in half and cut into a curved shape to cover up my ears. This piece is also on the template, so don't worry about it. And yeah, I stapled those two pieces together so the mask would hold its shape. For the second part of the mask, I needed to cover up my forehead. Yes, I totally could have made this out of more cereal box cardboard, but I really wasn't in the mood to make any more templates. So I took some aluminum foil and pressed it against my forehead to get a curve. See, like this. If you make this Moon Knight mask, line it up with the top of your eyebrows so you know exactly where it goes when you attach it to the cardboard mask. But yeah, I took more masking tape and covered all that foil in tape. I then flipped it over and covered the inside of it in tape as well. The more layers of tape that you put on, the sturdier it's going to be, but I probably did about one layer, maybe two in some spots. After all of it was covered, I taped the center of it onto a cardboard mask and also stapled the sides down so it would stay in place. I then used even more tape to cover up the seams or the gap that's between the cardboard and the forehead, as well as covering the entire section around the eyes. It's a little wonky looking now, but it's not that big of a deal since most of it gets covered up anyhow. And that means it's time for step 3 of the mask, wrapping. Moon Knight in the Disney Plus show kind of has an Egyptian mummy vibe, so to make all those strips that you're going to wrap around the mask, I took a piece of wax paper that was about 16 inches long, laid it out, and covered it in long pieces of masking tape. I then cut that sheet into strips and started hot gluing them to the mask, and I always kept the hot glue in the center of the strip so it can still have some movement and so it wouldn't look like it was just laying flat against the mask. But I covered up the nose first, and then the chin, and then the forehead before moving on to more of the detail work. Honestly, you can't go wrong with however you want to wrap up this mask, but I try to follow the pattern of the mask that's on the actual show. The first strip starts at the cheek, then covers the mouth, and then just a little bit of hot glue to hold it down on the other side. This strip was kept slanted and it had the thickness of 2 of those masking tape strips. Oh, and if you make this, always keep the smooth side of the wax paper down. You want the rough side up because all that texture helps make the tape look a little bit more like fabric once it gets painted. I'll let you watch this little montage of how I added all these strips to the mask before coming back in at the end. So once you get a nice looking mask, cut and glue down all those extra bits that are hanging off of it until you get something that looks like this. Oh, and while I was gluing down all the strips, I separated the staples at the back of the mask so I could try it on, and I replaced those staples with elastic so I could actually wear the mask and take it on and off. But then it was time to paint. Everything was painted in white craft paint before a very light watered down wash of black craft paint. I made it slightly darker around the eyes before giving it all a very watered down wash of brown craft paint. I could only find a light brown in my house, but if you have regular brown, just add some more white to it to make it super faded and light. You just want it to be a wash and kind of just a hint of dirt. For the eyes, I grabbed a piece of screen that I got from the dollar store and cut it into 2 small pieces. These small pieces were painted in white and then hot glued to the inside of the mask. So yeah, that's basically the entire Moon Knight mask, but Moon Knight also has a hooded cape. So to make that, I took a white tablecloth that I got from the dollar store and a hoodie from my closet. I traced the hood part of the hoodie onto a piece of poster board so you could see what I'm doing, but you can totally just trace it right onto the tablecloth if you want. Just make sure that you weigh it down so it doesn't slide away from you. But yeah, I folded the tablecloth in half, traced that shape onto the plastic tablecloth, and cut it out so I'd have 2 identical pieces. I then cut out a 3-inch long strip that will go in between those 2 side pieces, and yeah, that's basically the hood. This 3-inch wide strip got taped between the 2 big pieces, and then I just trimmed it so it would fit nicely. I tried to make the tape as flat as possible so it would look nice before I folded the hood in half and laid it flat and taped on an alternating pattern that kind of somewhat resembled the pattern that is on Moon Knight's actual hood. Basically, the tape goes one way for 1/3 of the hood, a different way for another third, and then for the back of the hood I just made sure that the tape went straight up and down just to kind of give it some differentiation and make it look, a little bit more like a design versus just tape. When all that tape was laid out, I moved over to the little crescent moon in the center of the hood. So you first want to try on the hood just to make sure that everything's fitting fine. Mine was fitting fine, but I thought that it was a little bit too Jedi Knight and not enough Moon Knight. So I decided to cut out a curve just to kind of follow along and help me come to a point at the top of the Moon Knight hood. And in order to accentuate this point, I took a piece of cereal box cardboard and cut it into a triangle and then taped that directly onto the center of the hood so it would kind of come to a point. So once that cereal box cardboard was taped down, I moved on to the actual crescent moon piece, and all I did was just cut a piece of corrugated cardboard into the shape of a crescent moon and then taped that directly onto the hood. And I try to keep my tape as neat as possible, but it's tape, so it's not going to be completely flat. But I decided to paint everything in white, and then a very light black wash, and then a very light brown wash, the same as everything else. But you'll see the finished product in a second. So there you have it, Moon Knight's mask made from cardboard and a lot of tape. I like how it turned out, but to be honest, I wasn't really sure if I was going to post this one. I actually made 2 of these just to see if it would make me a little bit happier with the second one. So yeah, I hope you guys like it. If I was going to wear this as a cosplay and not just for fun around the house, I would cover the cape, which is just the rest of the tablecloth. I would cover that entirely in tape and paint it the exact same way as everything else. but it still looks good without all that extra work, so I decided to just go for it, especially since this is just for fun for me and not gonna leave my house. Oh, and I just want to point out that the visibility is really good in the mask, so you can see everything. But yeah, as always, the template is going to be linked below in case you want to make one of these Moon Knight masks for yourself. And please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye bye.